Hey there! Let's journey together. For years, I've seen Pokemon players take on Nuzlocke challenges, and I decided to try it for the first time in Pokemon Platinum. But to make things more interesting, I'm going to be playing it with my friend and having our Pokemon soul linked. Nuzlocke rules are as follows. You have to nickname every Pokemon you catch to get attached to them. If a Pokemon faints, you can no longer use it, and you can only catch one Pokemon per route. However, since this is a two-player Nuzlocke, there is another rule. Each slot of our team is linked to one another, meaning if my first Pokemon dies, player 2's Pokemon also dies. And we decided to randomize all the Pokemon to make it more fun. Let's get started! Our way too energetic neighbor Barry came and dragged us out of bed to Route 201 to go adventure through the tall grass. "Hold it!" shouted Professor Rowan, then proceeded to yell at us for being dumb and trying to go into the tall grass without any Pokemon. After a good scolding, he offered to give us a Pokemon of our own. We reached into the suitcase to see our starters, and I got Riolu, Mismagius, and Weavile. While my friend got Gyarados, Mesprit, and Rhydon, I decided to go with Riolu, who I nicknamed Aura, and my friend chose Gyarados and accidentally named it After battling Barry, we were ready to start our adventure. We got some Pokeballs and set out to catch a Pokemon. I ran into a Suicune, and I couldn't be happier about my first catch. I called it Misty since it's a water type and magical, and my friend caught Cloud the Altaria. We headed to Jubilife City, we caught Silcoon and Burmy on Route 202, then fished Wailmer and Sandshrew on Route 218, who we called Whale and Roo. But then as we walked outside the city, we ran into Barry for the second time, and he demanded a rematch. However, he was no match for us, and we kept going until we reached Oreburgh City, where we would take on the first gym. On Route 203, we caught a Combuskin who I named Blaze, and my friend caught a Pichu and named it Minnie. My friend then caught Ursaring named Ringo, and I caught Clefairy and named it Fairy. Going through the mines, we caught Blastoise and Staraptor, who we called Cannon and Hawk, and we were finally ready to face Rourke the gym leader, and since everything is randomized, we had no idea who to expect. First up was Ditto, who I took out easily with Aura. Then came Nosepass, who also didn't stand a chance, and the last Pokemon was Growlithe, so I called in Misty and took him out. With that, we obtained our first gym badge. Then we made our way to Floroma Town. We caught Blubber the Walrein and Patrick the Starmie on Route 204. But then we found Team Galactic stealing power and causing trouble. We beat up the grunt guarding the entrance and snuck inside to investigate. And that's where we ran into one of the Galactic commanders, Mars. She told us a bit about their vision, and we started the battle. First up was Wynot, who I failed to realize was a psychic type and damaged Aura. I tried to switch out but couldn't, so I decided to heal up and spam quick attacks. We took out Wynot, and next was Exploud, who we took out without any problems. And just like that, we beat Mars and went on our way. I caught Bayleaf and called it Leafy, and my friend caught Edward the Scyther on Route 205. Then we caught Pidgeot and Beldum and named them Sky and Float. We headed to the Eterna City Gym to face Gardenia and earn our badge. First up was Shroomish, so I switched to Blaze and tried to burn it down. Then it paralyzed me with Stun Spore. I hit it with a Peck, which was super effective, but it tanked it on 1 HP. And Gardenia healed Shroomish. We went back and forth, then she withdrew, which was a cowardly move, and called in Octillery. I switched to Leafy to have type advantage, and had a super close call after he hit me with an Aurora Beam. So I frantically used a super potion in hopes of saving Leafy. The fight was too dangerous for Leafy, so I called in Fairy. After 2 strong hits from Octillery, we had a close call, and Fairy barely held on 3 HP. So I used Sing to put the enemy to sleep, then used a super potion on Fairy and Leafy. He hit me with a Bubble Beam, and I tried to put him to sleep again, but Octillery was faster, and just like that, Fairy was taken out, and that was our first death, and my friend Staraptor was linked to Fairy. Leafy went back in to take out Octillery and avenge its fallen friend. Her last Pokemon was Primeape, so I sent in Misty since it had a flying move, but turned out that using Bubble Beam was more effective. She switched back Shroomish, who ran away earlier, and we dealt with it quickly. I switched to Cannon and had another close call, and took out Primeape. And we beat Gardenia and obtained the second badge, but it came at a price. But while I was done and thought I could relax, my friend was still fighting. And the second death came when Omastar 1 shot Pichu with a rollout, and I lost Leafy, who was linked to the 4th slot. And just like that, while we beat the second gym, we were quite sad about losing our Pokemon, but decided to keep pushing forward. After beating Gardenia, we learned how to use Cut, so we cut the trees in front of the Galactic Tower and went in to face Jupiter, the second Galactic Commander. First up was Smeargle, who Aura took out with ease. Next was Ambipom. You know the saying, end up seeing stars? Well, Ambipom took that way too Route 2 literally, nearly taking out Aura and Blaze, but Double Kick took care of him. Meanwhile, on the other side, Electabuzz low-kicked Ringo to an inch of his life and almost gave us a heart attack. So, my friend called in Gyarados, taking a huge risk and finally beating Electabuzz with Dragon Rage. After beating Commander Jupiter, we picked up our bikes and went on our way. We caught Trico and Azelf on Route 206 and named them Yoshi and Azure. Then made our way to Mount Coronet, where I caught Shaman and named him Grass, while my friend caught Reggie Ice and named it Icy. After that, we went to Route 208, which is where we caught Flygon and Dragonair, and we ended up sharing a brain cell, so we named them Drogon and Drogon. We went through Hearthome City and headed to the gym where we both clean-sweeped Fantina and earned the 3rd gym badge. Going through Route 209, I caught a Darkrai that I called Shade, finally breaking the lack of legendary encounters I was experiencing. We then went to Route 210 and had the craziest encounter, so we caught Entei and Groudon, which we named Pyro and Red. Then while I returned back to the normal life and caught Lapras on Route 215, my friend caught an Articuno, and we named them Aqua and Arc. We reached Veilstone City and immediately headed towards the gym, which we both breezed through, securing our 4th gym badge from Maylene. It was time for us to head to Pastoria City. With 4 gym badges secured, we were feeling confident and ready for any challenge that comes our way. We caught Vaporeon and Eevee on Route 214 and named them Bubbles and Hottie. Then headed to Lake Valor, where I ran into a Politoed and it became the Pokemon I hate the most in the world. You see, Politoed has a move called Perish Song that I didn't know the effect of, sadly. When Perish Song is used, after 3 turns, the Pokemon affected by it dies. So I didn't understand that, and thought my Riolu can beat Politoed quickly, only for it to survive for 3 turns, and dealing me the most painful loss of the run. Aura had perished, and with it went Groudon since they were linked, and those 2 were very dear to us both. You will be missed, guys. With a heavy heart, we kept going, and knew we had to catch some strong Pokemons for the upcoming fights. I caught Luxio in the Great Marsh, and named it Sparks. Then on Route 213, I caught a Chikorita, which I named Chica, to carry the legacy of Leafy, and my friend caught a Zangoose and named it Bee. We trained up our Pokemon, Chica evolved into a Meganium, and Sparks evolved into Luxray, and on the other team, Hottie evolved into a Flareon. And so, we were ready to face the gym. We got past all the goons, and finally reached the gym leader, Crasher Wake, and what a wake it was. Right off the bat, my first opponent was none other than Politoed, so I called in Chica to have type advantage, and it hit me with another Perish Song, and I was feeling uneasy, but I thought I could take him out before it goes off, so I used Petal Dance. It was super effective, but not enough to take him out. Then Wake healed it with a Hyper Potion, and then I realized the biggest mistake I had done yet. Petal Dance locks you into that move, and you can't switch out, meaning that I was stuck in the fight for 3 turns. Not only did Wake withdraw his Politoed, but the worst had happened. 3 turns passed, and Chica perished, which broke my heart. I had lost 2 Pokemon to the same move because of dumb mistakes I made, but the fight was far from over. I called in Pyro to take out Venomoth, and he called in Dusk Noir, which I took down using Darkrai. And then Politoed was about to come back in, so I switched to Sparks and dealt the last attack and finished the fight. And just like that, I beat Crasher Wake. But the true Wake hadn't started yet, because on the other side, Wake's first Pokemon was Milotic, so my friend switched out Flareon for Azelf. After some back and forth heals and thunder attacks, Melodic was still standing and set up a Rain Dance. Azure's Thunder came very close, but ultimately Melodic tanked it and countered with a buffed up Aqua Tail, which one-hit KO'd Azure. Gyarados came in and beat Melodic, and Hottie failed to take out the opposing Ninjask, so Altaria subbed in. And while Cloud came close, a replay of the previous fight went down. Wake used a Hyper Potion on Ninjask, and it hit it back with a Sword Dance buffed Slash, and one-hit KO'd Cloud. Gyarados again came in to finish off the opponent, leaving Wake with one last Pokemon. Kingler, so Matong subbed in for Gyarados, and put up a good fight but ended up falling to a guillotine. Articuno then came in and finished the battle, putting an end to the massacre, and finally defeating Crasher Wake. We couldn't be happy about our 5th badge. With how sad and soul-crushing this battle was, we lost 6 Pokemon, Chica and Altaria, Sparks and Azure, as well as Float and Drogon. We will make it to the end for you guys, and we'll become champions in your names. We grabbed our 5th badge and swore that we won't let anyone else fall. After Cynthia had requested that we deliver a charm to her grandmother, we made our way to Celestic Town, where we ran into the 3rd Team Galactic Commander Cyrus, which is when we find out his evil plan to create a perfect world in his eyes, by destroying ours and capturing the 3 legendary Pokemon who keep things in balance. And he challenges us to a battle. His first Pokemon was Hitmonchan. so I switched to Sky, who one-shot him with a fly. He was about to send in Poliwhirl, so I sent in Shade, and took him out. Then he sent in Vileplume, so I switched to Blaze, and took him out with one Blaze Kick. Cyrus was defeated, and he ran away. Before heading to Canalave City, we caught a few Pokemon, Metagross and Meganium that we called Clark and Leaf, Torkoal and Jirachi that we called Cole and Celestia, and finally Mew and Tyrannodar that we called Kirby and Trinity. So I put Kirby and Clark on my team, and we head to Canalave City to challenge the leader. We go through the gym and finally face Byron, and we won't let this battle end like the last one. Misty and Kirby make short work of the enemies, and we obtain the 6th gym badge. After defeating the gym, we headed to Iron Islands to learn strength, and we caught Curlia and Manphy, then named them Kira and Splash. After having a conversation at the library with Rowan, Barry, and Lucas about the 3 Lake Guardians and Team Galactic targeting them, a huge explosion sets off, and the 3 of us split up to investigate the different lakes. We first headed to Lake Valor, where we battled Commander Saturn and destroyed him. Then after that, we headed to Lake Verity to support Lucas and took down Commander Mars. Then we caught Latios and Zapdos and named them Latte and Zippy. And these 2 we have to keep alive, because Latios is one of my favorite Pokemon. Lastly, we went to Lake Acuity to check on our hyper friend Barry. On the way there, we caught Vulpix and Charmeleon and named them Kitsune and Inferno, as well as Frostless and Vaporeon, named Missy and Hydro. After getting lost in the snow, we finally made it to Barry. He then insulted us, so we did consider just leaving him in the snow, but sometimes you got to let things slide. So we went to challenge the gym leader to learn how to use Rock Climb. On the way there, we caught Lugia and Sableye and named them Storm and Meme. We cleared all the gym trainers, and after figuring out the sliding puzzle, we reached the gym leader, and we both clean swept Candace. With that, we earned our 7th badge, which means we are just one away from reaching the league. Since we beat the gym, we can now use Rock Climb. We finally went up to find Barry had lost to Commander Jupiter, and she decides to head back to Team Galactic HQ. We follow her to Veilstone and raid the building. After making our way through the confusing teleporters, we took down Cyrus, and he informs us that he will ascend Mount Coronet to achieve his goals. We storm inside and find the 3 Lake Guardians have been imprisoned, so we sweep Commander Saturn, who then lets us push the button to free the Guardians, which leaves Cyrus to take care of once again. We immediately made our way to Mount Coronet and traveled through the cave to reach the Spear Temple, where we found Cyrus. But before we could approach him, Mars and Jupiter interfere and try to stop us, fueled by vengeance. Barry shows up looking for redemption, and we team up against the Commanders. Working together alongside Barry, we take out the 2 Commanders. But we were too late. Cyrus had accomplished his mission. Using the power he gathered from the Guardians, he summons Dialga and Palkia, who represent space and time. All of a sudden, a mysterious shadowy figure emerged from the ground and took Cyrus. A strange portal appears where the Pokemon spawned, and the 3 Lake Guardians jump inside. Cynthia shows up and tells us that the Pokemon we saw was Giratina, and that we should jump in the portal and chase after Cyrus. We jumped in the portal and entered a weird dimension. It was filled with mazes and upside-down waterfalls and puzzles. The 3 Lake Guardians ask you to push boulders for them, which is a bit confusing seeing as how they have psychic powers. But we pushed the boulders into the right slots, and finally found Cyrus. Cynthia yells at him for a bit, and then it was time to battle him and end it once and for all. Up first was Blossom, who Misty took out easily. Hippowdon was next, and we took him out with a Surf. Swampert came in next, so I switched to Kira and took him out with Magical Leaf. Next was Skuntank, so I switched back to Misty and one-shot him with Surf. And the last Pokemon was Magmortar, who was no challenge for Misty. Just like that, we finally put a stop to Cyrus and Team Galactic. All that's left is facing the master of this dimension, the Pokemon that started it all. Roselia, I threw a Pokeball, and the world can now be at peace. After we saved the world, it was only right that we go and take on the final gym. On our way to Sunny Shore City, we caught Steelix and Machoke and named them Brock and Johnny. After getting through the most confusing gym puzzle, we both breezed through Volkner and obtained our final badge. With that, we finally had 8 badges and can go and take on the Elite Four. But before we go and challenge them, there's still Victory Road to go through and catch our final Pokemon and decide on our team for the league. We needed to clear Victory Road first to get to the league, and there we had our last encounters. A Ralts and a Gibble. We caught our final Pokemon and named them Blade and Gabby. We cleared the cave, and there we were, the Elite Four. But before we go in, let's build our final team. My league team was the following: Suicune, Darkrai, Latios, Gallade, Steelix, and Ninetales. That's it, our teams are set. and we are ready to take on the final challenge. First up was Aaron of the Elite Four. Misty took out his Donphin, Kitsune took care of his Meganium, Blade tagged in and took out Whiscash, Shade took out Mr. Mime, and Kitsune took out Magnezone, winning the match. We took out Bertha and Flint pretty easily, and made our way to face Lucian, the last of the Elite Four. Kitsune took out Piloswine, Shade took out Slowbro, Latte took out Tauros, and while Blissey was tanky, Misty took it out, as well as Muck, securing our victory against the Elite Four without any problems. But there is still one more fight. We still have to take down the champion Cynthia. Up first was Ambipom, so I switched to Blade, and he one-shot him with a close combat. Next was Miss Magus. Shade used Feint Attack, which got really close. She then used a full restore, but Shade came out on top. Next was Executor, so I called in Kitsune and fire blasted him away. Donphin came in, so I switched to Misty and took it out with a single hit. Next was Floatzel, but it fell down to Leaf Blade. While everything was going smooth for my team, on the other side, we had a terrible loss. Cynthia's Steelix hit Gyarados with a crit Stone Edge, bringing its HP down to 2, and then Gyarados died due to the sandstorm. He made it so far and brought us to the final battle. He will never be forgotten. However, it was time for me to face Cynthia's final Pokemon, and as if all the losses haven't been enough, Cynthia's final Pokemon was Celebi, who's my favorite Pokemon, so having to take it down to become champion doesn't feel good. But I wasn't about to let everyone down. Shade hit Celebi with Shadow Claw, and that was it. Celebi fainted, and we finally became the champion. We went to get crowned and enter the team into the Hall of Fame. This is a victory for us all and all the friends we made along the way. With that, we cleared the Nuzlocke Soul Link Challenge. While it was emotionally traumatizing at times, we had a lot of fun playing the game. Consider checking out the suggested video, as it helps please the algorithm gods and would help me out a ton. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye-bye!